Product universe here. President Trump and RFK Jr. unveil a historic executive order to lower drug prices. This is a big deal.
Some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries. To accelerate these price restrictions and reductions, my administration will also cut out the middlemen. We're going to totally cut out the famous middlemen. Nobody knows who they are, middlemen. I've been hearing the term for 25 years, middlemen. I don't know who they are, but they're rich. That I can tell you. We're going to cut out the middlemen and facilitate the direct sale of drugs at the most favored nation price directly to the American citizen. So we're cutting out, Bobby, the middlemen. It's so important, right? You got to do that. They're worse than the drug companies. They don't even make a product, and they make a fortune. It's very smart business people, that I can tell you. If companies make no significant progress toward most favored nation pricing, which we will insist that they do, so I think I'm wasting time talking about it. We're going to insist upon it. And we'll insist, and we're going to help the drug companies with the other nations, because those other nations do a lot of trading with us. They need our trade, just like China needed us very badly. They need us just as badly. We will do whatever we have to with trade, just like we did some great things with trade with India and Pakistan. It really helped the situation, very heated situation. Could have lost millions of people, more than millions, I mean, many millions of people. And they want to do business with America, but we never used our powers that way. We never knew how. We never had people that knew how to do that. We'll also open up America's market to safe and legal imports of affordable drugs from other countries, putting dramatic downward pressure on prices. And if necessary, we'll investigate the drug companies, and we'll, in particular, investigate the countries that are doing this, and we will add it onto the price that we charge them for doing business in America. In other words, we'll add it onto tariffs if they don't do what is right, which is everybody should equalize. Everybody should pay the same price. And special interests may not like this very much, but the American people will. I am doing this for the American people. I'm doing this against the most powerful lobby in the world, probably the drug lobby, drug and pharmaceutical lobby. But it's one of the most important orders, I think, that's ever been signed, certainly with regard to health care or health in the history of our country, and it's an honor to be a part of it. And I'd like to ask Robert F. Kennedy to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator on Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million. Yeah. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $1,126 per capita on drugs. In Britain, they spend about $240. They spend 1/5 of what we do. And this is true across Europe. And the drug companies, Europeans, if you ask them, it made no sense what they were saying. America has to pay for this innovation or it's not going to happen. What President Trump is saying to our European partners is you got to raise the amount that you're paying for those drugs and pay for your share of the innovation. That the United States is no longer subsidizing that. If the Europeans raise the price of their drugs by just 20%, that is $10 trillion that can be spent on innovation, and the health of all people all across the globe is going to increase because we're going to have better products. So I'm just so grateful to be here today. I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. I have a couple of kids who are Democrats, are big Bernie Sanders fans, and when I told them that this was going to happen, they had tears in their eyes because they thought this is never going to happen in our lifetime, and we finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people. Thank you.
This is a huge deal because President Trump is doing something that has never been done before. He is going to lower drug prices, and he's not setting price controls. He is taking on the pharmaceutical companies who have been price gouging Americans while not price gouging the rest of the world. As for example, as President Trump said, the rest of the world pays lower prices on pharmaceutical drugs because the United States foots the bill, because the European Union negotiates what price will be the highest price they pay and tells the pharmaceutical companies that America must pay more to offset this. This is totally wrong, but smart from the European Union and their leaders, because by negotiating with the pharmaceutical companies and making the United States pay more, they are delivering lower prices for their people. So I totally understand why they do it, but that's what America is going to be doing now, because we have a president who stands up for the American people. America will no longer be footing the bill of Europe and the rest of the world when it comes to giving money to the pharmaceutical industries for their drugs. We will not pay significantly more for drugs than people would in Europe any longer. Now, because of this executive order, Americans' drug prices will lower towards that of the prices the Europeans pay at the moment. It is now time that the rest of the world will foot the bill for the American people. We were took advantage of for so long by the world as we were footing the bill to keep the world's drug prices low. But now that is over, as the opposite is going to happen now. The world will foot the bill to keep the Americans' drug prices low, so that the American people can pay less for drugs and medicine. Donald Trump has stopped the world from ripping us off in this crucial area, a crucial area which was the fulcrum of the Democratic Party, and notably Bernie Sanders, as RFK Jr. so eloquently said, because they have been arguing for years about how drug prices must be lowered because it just doesn't make sense how the prices for drugs in America are so significantly more than the price of the same drug in Europe. And they were right. It is wrong that the Americans have to foot the bill for the rest of the world when it comes to buying medicine. It is wrong that there's such a disparity in drug prices in America compared to Europe, which totally shows that the pharmaceutical industry is price gouging Americans to offset for their losses and profit margin in Europe. So it was interesting to hear RFK Jr. talk about how his family, who are Democrats, were crying in tears of joy over this executive order from President Trump, a MAGA Republican, because this executive order should be supported by all those people that supported Bernie Sanders, because President Trump did what Bernie Sanders was talking about for years. But President Trump does more than talking. He takes action. And by taking action, President Trump will cut the prices of pharmaceutical drugs and medicine by 60 to 70% in America without harming the pharmaceutical industry, because now the pharmaceutical industry will just make the rest of the world foot the bill instead of us. So it's a win-win. Something that should have been done a long time ago. RFK Jr. did a great job explaining why this is a huge deal and why it will bring more Americans to the Republican Party. God bless President Trump for fighting for the everyday American and lowering drug prices for every American while still having and protecting the free market. But that's just my 2 cents, and you're entitled to your 2 cents. If you want, share your opinion in the comments below, as all viewpoints are welcome. If you enjoy this informational and educational video, then give the video a like and turn on my channel notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless America. Click on the videos on the screen to continue watching my content.